Straightforward conversations, no filters, beyond the headlines, just the facts. This is the Newsmaker. Thank you for joining Newswatch Plus. I'm Tristan Udalo. The Philippines and the United States are in talks to further level up defense cooperation amid regional threats. Manila confirms that talks are underway for possible deployment of more U.S. missile systems, a move likely to draw objections from China. The U.S. has already sent a Typhon Midrange Missile System to Northern Luzon last year and an antiship missile launcher to Batanes this year as tensions rise as well between Taiwan and China. Today's Newsmaker, we have Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez. Ambassador Babe, thank you so much for your time.
Sure. Nice to see you again, Tristan. Yes.
Nice to see you again, sir. And let me begin with this po. Dito muna with defense and security. Just to give us a brief of an update, like since the bilateral meeting of President Bongbong Marcos and U.S. President Donald Trump last month, what has been the progress on strengthening deterrence in terms of Philippine-U.S. defense partnership, sir?
Well, no question we have been able to increase the number of activities, especially in the maritime security space. But more importantly, on the defense side, I think we have had the biggest visiting forces exercises, and we're probably going to have a couple of that before the end of this year. And as you mentioned, the deployment of missiles. But these are actually ongoing talks that is just part of a bigger picture where we will do what we can to have interoperability in terms of training our soldiers to be able to use some of the equipment that the U.S. may make available for our armed forces. So that's essentially what this thing is all about.
Alright, so just to be clear lang, sir, there are ongoing talks na po on the possibility of deploying more U.S. missile systems. What kind of system are we talking about, sir?
Yeah, we're not only talking about missile systems, but more importantly, other types of equipment that we'll be able to use for our defense, part of our defense strategy, and at the same time, part of our alliance with the United States. So it's not just the defense, the missile systems, but also probably other equipment in relation to intelligence gathering and so forth and so on. All of that is part and parcel of our mutual defense treaty agreement we've had with the United States for more than several decades now, and part of our visiting forces and our enhanced defense agreement that we've had with the United States.
Okay, so this additional, sir, either missile system or ibang assets na kailangan natin in other aspect of our military cooperation, are we expecting na at least we can see some tangible results within the year?
Well, definitely. As Secretary Pete Hegseth said when he came to Manila last March, or was it earlier than that, there was an agreement that we will have a lot more of this type of situations where it is peace through deterrence is the exact wording that was used not only by Secretary Hegseth, but even the White House itself. The White House also mentioned that. Peace through deterrence is what we're after.
Talking about peaceful deterrence, but sir, yung dalawang missile system, for example, yung Nemesis and Typhon na naka-deploy ngayon sa Pilipinas are already getting strong reaction from China. Adding more, the possibility of adding more, we are also expecting a stronger reaction from China kung gagawin po ito.
Well, don't we have all kinds of activities that China is doing right now in there? Just the other day, it was a good thing that our Coast Guard was able to outmaneuver the Chinese, but that's an example of a continuing aggression coming from China. But these are all defense systems that we're putting up in place here in our area. So I don't see any reason why. Secretary Teodoro has made it very clear that this is an internal matter and that this should not alarm any country. Not only China, but any country. We're doing what we are supposed to do to protect our territorial integrity.
Alright, since you mentioned na sir yung incident nitong linggo sa West Philippine Sea, on Monday, nagkaroon sir ng collision between two Chinese vessels na while it's going after a Philippine Coast Guard vessel. Yung ganitong insidente sir, na nagkaroon talaga ng actual na collision, na banggaan, kung sa nangyari po ba ito sa Philippine vessel or sa Philippine Coast Guard vessel, do you think it's enough to invoke the Mutual Defense Treaty?
That one, Secretary Anyo had made it very clear that this is purely it's like a law enforcement situation, so it will not really require any military intervention, not yet. So I think we're doing everything we can. As I've always said, President Marcos has made it very clear that we are not out on an offensive. We are for purely defensive purposes is what we're doing.
But what was your reaction, sir, when you saw the video or the images nung ganung klaseng banggaan, sir, na, well, to some reports, sinabi nga po may nagkaroon pa ng casualty on the Chinese side?
Well, these maneuverings obviously are very dangerous, and we have many countries who have joined in echoing that sentiment. So there's no question that we're on the right side here as far as because it is within our territorial waters. Mabait pa nga tayo. That's basically what it is. We're using maximum restraint.
Mm-hmm. And just days after that incident, meron naman pong incident between a Chinese fighter jet and a Philippine Coast Guard aircraft na nagkaroon na naman po ng panibagong dangerous maneuver. So, are you at all concerned na dito sir sa Bajo de Masinloc or Scarborough Shoal mas tumitindi yung tension?
Well, as our many of our people in the armed forces have said, we are ready, we are prepared, and we will just continue to do what we're doing. We've been doing it for many years now, and it's just one purpose, and that is to defend our sovereignty.
All right. And during this week's patrol din, sir, there were two U.S. Navy warships spotted in Zambales. Siguro, sir, while the U.S. government said that they're exercising their freedom of navigation and overflight in conducting these activities, but what kind of message does this send then to the world na meron din pong nagsasagawa ng ganitong klaseng operations from the U.S. side, even though matindi yung tension dun sa Scarborough Shoal, sir?
They have been doing that for many years also. These are what you call phone ops. These are operations that they've been doing. These are international waters, and they have every right to do so. And of course, because they're our allies, we don't mind if they're doing it within our boundaries. This is just purely an exercise that is lawful and within the rights of any country.
Ambassador, allow me to ask some follow-up doon po sa naging recent interview nyo recently po this week. You've mentioned about the country's interest in becoming a U.S. warship manufacturing site, especially in Subic. May formal talks na ba dito, sir? Or ano po bang status nitong idea na ito or proposal?
Well, it's an offer that's been there for quite some time. The Hanjin Shipyard, which has been taken over by actually an American finance company, is now in operation, and it's being used for commercial purposes. But we definitely are open to the idea of being part of the entire shipbuilding operation of the United States. So that offer has been made to the Pentagon and to the shipbuilders, not only from the United States but from other countries as well. I think it's only natural for us to try to bring in as much as we can, because that is basically a commercial business activity that we most welcome.
And what is the significance po of this plan in maintaining the strategic interest of Washington, sir, in the region, kung dito nga po magkakaroon ng warship manufacturing hub?
Like any ally, I think we're one of those that they can trust to be able to build it. And like I said, this is actually technically owned by an American finance company that has taken over the facility. So it's only natural for them to be able to use that. But it'll be good for us because obviously it will create jobs in Subic.
Okay. Ang status nito, sir, has there been any formal offer made by the Philippines to the US knowing na may ganito pong plano ang Washington?
No, that offer has been made. Like I said a long time ago, we can reiterate the offer. I think it's been discussed by Secretary Chudoro with Secretary Hexen.
Ambassador, just to jump off a bit from the issue on the South China Sea and the West Philippine Sea, just this week din sir, naging mainit yung naging discussion over Taiwan because China protested President Bongbong Marcos' statement on Taiwan, using it as a pretext and a warning that the Philippines is playing with fire. Nag-react ang China because sinabi ni President Marcos na kung magkaroon ng giyera sa pagitan ng China, US over Taiwan, ay madadamay talaga ang Pilipinas. So was this reaction from China appropriate na are we playing with fire in the Taiwan issue?
No, I think they're overreacting. What President Marcos really meant there, basically, which has always been a concern of the Philippines and the Philippine government, are the 250,000 workers that we have in Taiwan. That's basically what it is. If anything happens in Taiwan, where it is going to be some kind of a conflict, then we will have to worry about the 250,000 people that are there. Aside from the fact that Taiwan, of course, is the proximity is within our neighborhood. All countries within the neighborhood will be I wouldn't say drawn into the conflict, but will have to be ready for that conflict to probably overflow. Or, we don't know. But I think that was just a cautionary comment made by President Marcos. He was right in saying that we are concerned about our citizens who work in Taiwan.
But has there been any talks between the Philippines and the US for any eventuality should a conflict po or when a conflict erupt in Taiwan?
Well, there's not really any formal conversation about that. The bottom line is that it is an internal matter between, as I said, we have a one China policy, and we've always pushed for a peaceful settlement of the Taiwan issue. That's always been our stand. It will remain our stand no matter what. But as I said, our major concern is our 250,000 workers in Taiwan. And definitely, if anything happens there, we will ask our allies, including the United States, to assist us in getting all our workers out of there.
So hindi rin po impossible, sir, na in the event na magkaroon nga po ng conflict and we need to evacuate and we need to open the EDCA sites po for that purposes, ay pwede pong magamit din ng Pilipinas at US yung mga...
Not necessary. As I said, all of these things are all a question of what is necessary for our interest, and at the same time, the commitments that we've made with the United States as our mutual defense treaty dictates. So that's the bottom line. But there is no real clear anything happens to Taiwan, we will be there, or whatever. That's not the case.
All right. Last two questions na lang po, Ambassador, because I know your schedule is full po. Now, on the economic front, may update na po ba on tariff talks between the Philippines and the US, especially yung issue naman po nung 100% tariff on semiconductors, sir?
No, we're talking mostly to the semiconductor industry in the United States, the association, and of course, those that are operating here. We are finding ways to be able to see how we can find a reasonable, if there's any tariff at all, to make it reasonable, and see how that can go. But that's all still under negotiation right now. Secretary Frederick Go is on top of this.
But how concerned are we, sir? Should the U.S. push through with its plan to impose 100% tariff on...
The concern is always there. It will always be a concern for any country, for that matter. Any kind of tariff, any change in the policy of a big market like the United States will be a major concern for any country. And obviously, being an exporter of some of these items like semiconductors and other items that we export to the United States, it will always be a concern. But we will work around it, and we will survive. I think President Marcos' trip to India gives you an indication that we will look for other markets. Mm-hmm. We will work with other countries. If a major country like the United States would be difficult for us to be able to export some of our goods, then we will have to look for other areas where we can work with other countries.
Last question na lang po, Ambassador. There are numerous reports of Filipinos being deported from the U.S. Many, sir, are cruise ship workers. How is the Philippine Embassy assisting them? Meron po bang mga lumapit sa embahada dahil itong mga recent concern ng mga napapauwing mga seafarer?
Well, yung sa seafarers, I think it has something to do with child pornography. So that is a criminal case. That's an international criminal case. So if it is something that some of our seafarers are found to be evidence to show that they were involved in that, then there's not much we can do but to help in having them expatriated to the Philippines. Otherwise, any Filipino citizen that comes to the Philippine Embassy, we have our mechanism in place. We have our consuls ready to help in every way we can. We have volunteer lawyers, immigration lawyers, Filipino-American lawyers who are ready to give them advice on whether to try to see whether they can still stay legally, or if not, then we will find a way to bring them back to the Philippines.
So wala naman, sir, parang targeted effort like from the U.S. immigration to zero in dito sa mga Filipino workers. Wala naman pong gano'n na nakikita.
Not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, I can say that mabait pa nga mabait in the sense that hindi tayo targeted. Ang mga tinatarget lang talaga is those that have criminal records. But essentially, Filipino workers in the United States are very much appreciated by all states. And it's bipartisan. In other words, there is no real discrimination against them in that sense. So I think that it's really a matter of a policy that the United States is now really tightening their borders, and they certainly don't want to have illegal immigrants in their country, which is natural. We're doing the same thing right now in the Philippines. We don't want to have illegal aliens living in our country as well. So that's a right of any country.
All right. Thank you so much, Ambassador Babe Romualdez, for your time and for taking this interview, sir. Ingat po kayo.
Thank you. Salamat, Tristan.
Thank
See you again.
See you po. And we will continue to deliver just the facts and the news you need. Until our next Newsmaker, I'm Tristan Odalo.